New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is pleased to present The Inclusive Church, Ideas and Resources for Leaders of Multicultural Ministries. The Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown. Tuesdays at 12 noon Mountain Time. Join Tracy and her guests as they go deep and share practical tips and resources you can use in your ministry. And now let's explore the Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown.
Not working, but let's try. Ooh, see, this is what happens when you are watching a live program. No editing, no safety net. We just have to figure it out as we go along. And here we are. So I'm really happy that you've joined me today, whether it's live or whether you're watching a recording. I love doing this show, The Inclusive Church. And every week we have an opportunity to talk about what does it mean to be inclusive in our spiritual communities, and how can we learn to do that? How can we do it better, even if we already know how and we're already well into the journey of being inclusive? And when I say church, I am reclaiming church as the community of people, not the building, because so much of our ministry in the 21st century is not dependent upon a specific building or this building. It's what are the relationships that we have and who are the people we are serving. Number two, reminder at the top of every show is that I often will say leaders in spiritual communities. And about 5 or 6 times I've had people say, oh, well, I'm not a minister, so, I guess your show is not for me. And on the contrary, I use leader to mean anyone and everyone who is involved in growing the church, involved in being a leader of a volunteer team, or serving on the board, or being a donor, or being anyone who's involved in the actual delivery of the ministry. So with those two things out of the way, what are we talking about today? Wow. So what are we talking about today? So I have a list of my top 10 things that I wish people would stop saying or doing. And, people who have made a big deal out of the fact that they intend to be inclusive and that inclusion is important to them and to the ministry. And so we don't have time to go through all 10. Maybe I'll do 5 today and 5 next week. I'm not sure. But today I will do 5. Let's see if I can get this set up. in a way that works. Yes. All right. So I'm going to highlight 5. Also, some of you who are regulars, if I'm not talking to a guest, I try to keep the show to 30 to 35 minutes so that you have time to go do something else before the top of the next hour. And so that you don't get totally bored just listening to me talk. But it's a toolkit. So we talk about what are things you should know, or what are things that you might want to do or remember or keep in mind. So these 5 things are things I want you to stop saying or doing. Stop saying or doing. So the first one, mostly I'm going to do saying things. Stop saying it. Stop talking that way. Stop using these terms. So the first one, some of you may have heard me talk about this before, because it really is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. People use the word diverse, or diverse, but diverse, as an adjective when they're talking about people. This is a problem. Stop doing this. Stop it. So what do I mean by this? Like, stop using diverse as an adjective, such as, oh, we have a diverse community. Of course you do. I mean, that goes without saying. Everybody could be the same race and you would still have diversity. You would have a diverse community. Everybody could be the same race and the same gender, and you should still have a diverse community. Now, if you're using it in that way, you maybe can make it work. But 99.9% of the time when I hear people saying, oh, we have a diverse community, they're saying we have a lot of white people, but we have some other people too who are Black or Asian, or we have straight people mostly, but we do have some people who are in the LGBTQ plus community. Stop using diverse when you are trying to highlight, emphasize, or explain that you have some people who are different from the majority of people. Okay, why is this important? Why is Tracy on her soapbox about this? So, if you say you value diversity, then everybody who is a part of your community is a part of that diversity. And every person in your community is contributing to your community being diverse. So the problem is that almost everyone who uses it to say, oh, we have people of color, or we're not all one group. The norm is this group, but we have some diverse people. No, everybody is diverse. Everybody together makes a diverse community. So it would be better to actually say we have an inclusive community where we value diversity, because diversity just simply is. And just because you have a lot of diversity doesn't necessarily mean you have inclusion. So if you want a catch-all adjective, use inclusive, not diverse. Okay, so please stop using diverse as an adjective. I'm smiling because I have so much more I want to say about this, but really I think I should move on to the second one. So the next one is also something that I've heard so much. People will say, well, our community is a safe space. Our community is a safe space. Or our church, this event, come to this event because it's a safe space to be yourself. It's a safe space to tell your truth. Just stop. Please, just stop. Because you are not able to ensure that people will feel safe. You can't. There are too many variables, and you are not able to control what other participants who will be there will say or do. So when you promise someone that you are providing a safe space, my question to leaders all the time is, okay, what does that mean to you? What does it mean for the space to be safe? Well, it means that people can come and they can share their problems. Okay, then say we're creating an environment where we encourage people to share what's troubling them. Or someone will say, well, we are having this event because we want to create more dialogue and we want people to feel safe to talk about difficult things. Leave safe out of it and say, we've created this or we're preparing this event in order to encourage honest dialogue. Or we are creating an environment where people can be their authentic selves, or where we encourage people to be their authentic selves. Please stop promising that you will make it safe. Now, maybe I need to give you a couple of examples. So first, I'll just use myself as an example. I'm Black. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm Black. I'm a woman, and often people who are claiming to create a safe space are white. And I show up and it's not safe for me. I'm not safe. People are making comments, or people are so proud of themselves because they're welcoming me as a Black person, and then they say things that are insulting, or they discount me, or they dismiss me, and it's based on race, not what I've said or what I've done. There's a superiority. That's not safe for me. And you can't guarantee that it will be. And if someone asks me my opinion, and because I'm a direct communicator, I tell them, and their feelings are hurt, and you go to protect the other person's feelings because they're upset, then it's not safe for me to express my opinions or to respond to what I've been asked. Now, it's not that this happens all the time. It doesn't. But it happens frequently enough. And I just use that example because I can tell my own story. But I've talked with people who are in the LGBTQ plus community, and that they will tell me, yeah, I don't feel safe because people are looking at me funny, or they're uncomfortable that I'm there, and they don't say anything, but I sure don't feel safe. Or someone, I've had conversations with women who have gone through domestic abuse, and they will say, no, I don't feel safe because, we're in a mixed group, and there are a number of men in the room who are gaslighting me or other women, and I don't feel safe. So please just stop describing your church or your event as a safe space. You don't know what other people from different cultures need in order to feel safe. You can ensure listening. You can create an environment where there is the expectation of respect. You can advertise or promote your event as a time to come together for authentic conversation, but you cannot ensure safety. You can also talk about if you're doing verbal announcements, or maybe if it's something on the website where you have a longer description, or if you are just marketing your ministry. You can talk about how one of the things that community or that church or that ministry is working on is creating safety for full participation, and you are soliciting input from people about how to do that. Now, you can talk about it that way. You can say our intention is that everyone feels respected, and we welcome any feedback that you have for us, or we encourage you to let us know if there are behaviors or conversations that create discomfort for you. But you even have to be a little careful about that, because if we're really doing ministry, our goal is not to make everybody comfortable, because we're trying to stretch them and grow them and help them apply spiritual principle to whatever is going on in the world as well as in their lives. So you can say, we've been working on physical and emotional safety, and we're learning about how different cultures regard safety. Just please stop saying your church or your event is a safe space. Okay, I will let that go for now. But it's not going to get any better, because as I'm thinking about it, these 5 are all things that seem to still be a problem, even though they're not new challenges. So the third one is not something that you need to leave in 2024 and never take into 2025. The first 2, I would say, drop them. Do not take them into 2025. Let them live in 2024 if you've been using them, and just move on to 2025 with a new strategy. This number 3, I would say you don't have to leave it in 2024. I would just encourage you to be very, very careful and very, very intentional about how you use this one. So what am I talking about? Please be careful how you use the concept of belonging. Now, this is not a word or a concept that you must leave completely behind. It's not. You don't have to leave this one completely behind. However, you really need to examine how you use it, what form you use it, what words you're using, and you need to get input and feedback from people who are connected to your ministry, and if possible, even people who participate in events and programs and classes that you sponsor. And feedback or no feedback, it's really important that whenever you are using belonging or belong, that you also define it and educate people about your use of it. So, Tracy, why is this so important? So, it's very troublesome to use it in this way. we belong to each other. Please don't say that. Just don't say it. Now, this may not make sense to you, but if you have people in your community who are people of color, especially African American, but not only, don't say we belong to each other. Why? Well, there's a little thing called colonization. There's a little thing called slavery, where white people said black people belong to them. Or the British said people in whatever country it was, in the Caribbean or in Africa or in India, oh, you belong to us. And so when you say we belong to each other, I know you don't mean it in that way, but the context of white people saying people of color belong to them isn't dead. So you don't have to say that. It's not helpful, no matter how well-meaning you are. So we belong together can maybe work depending on what else you say before and after and how you're using it. We belong together. Maybe it's borderline, but I've heard some people make it work. Saying our community is a community where everyone belongs, that could work, and I've seen it work. And it's because it's not being used as ownership. It's being used as partnership. And so the if you're going to do anything with belonging or belong, the most effective way is to say belonging is one of our values, because belonging, people belonging and feeling a sense of belonging when interacting with our community, that's a value. But when you say belong and use to, it is a big problem. Belonging implies partnership. Belong, usually with belong to, implies ownership. And we're not big fans of people owning other people. So, okay, I want to keep talking about that. You know what? I think I'll let it lay right there, because the next one I have even more passion about. And the next one is a never ever say again. Like, if you said it or if you hear people say it, correct them. But this is still, to my shock, a challenge. So we have communities and ministries that claim that they are inclusive and that they intend to be even more inclusive. And they will, or leaders in that community will refer to people who are transgender and they will say, oh, well, the transgendered, or we've had members who are transgendered, or it's just wrong. Like, oh my God, please just stop. So let me read you a quote so you're clear this is not just Tracy's opinion or just Tracy thinking about this. So on the, let's see if I even copied it. I guess I can't read you a quote because I didn't copy it. So I'll just have to tell you about it. So transgendered is, it's incorrect grammatically, and it's incorrect in just describing a person, right? So think about that ED on the end. So if you said someone, Sally has been murdered, or John has been hired, or Ayana has been promoted, or Maria has been kicked, right? There's some action that's been taken that has an impact, positive or negative. There's some action that has been taken, and this person is at the effect or demonstrating or experiencing the effect of some action that was taken. Versus if you were talking about who someone is or how they are in the world or their identity, you would say, oh, well, Wayne is tall. Oh, Janice is Catholic. You would say someone is young or old. You might say someone, oh, he's very compassionate, or she's very successful, right? So a state of being is not an action, right? That person is religious or studious, or that person is thin. Transgender, no ED, can be an identity, but it's not an action that's been taken. So it's very offensive to use the ED on the end. So this is a no exceptions. There's no way to clean it up except to remove the ED and to use transgender as an adjective that describes a person. So some of you have heard me talk before about people first language. So I might say that Angela is a transgender person. The same way I would say Tracy is a Black woman or a Black person, right? It's an adjective. That is the best use of it, because a person is not only one thing. So I am a Black person, but it is not Tracy is the Black or a Black, right? Because Black is only one of my identities. And so I'm a multi-dimensional person. Every person isn't a multi-dimensional person. So one of the dimensions that make up who they are is not all of who they are. So, yeah, please never, never, ever, ever use transgender. And I have time to do one more and keep to 30 to 35 minutes. So from the top 10 of list of things that you either shouldn't say or you want to be really careful about saying, number 5 is saying, well, I'm not prejudiced, or I don't have a prejudice bone in my body, or I have no biases. All 3 of those things will just make you seem disingenuous, will make you seem to many people ignorant, or I don't like using words like stupid or all of that. So ignorant, not in an arrogant way, but ignorant that everybody has biases. Everybody has prejudices, because we engage with people based upon what we've learned and how we've learned to navigate society. So what can you say instead? You can say, I don't mean to let my prejudices get in the lead. You could ask people, please let me know if I am saying things that come across as a negative bias, because I'm unaware, right? But you can't say I'm not prejudiced. And I laugh sometimes at myself, actually, because There are people who will say, well, I don't have a prejudiced bone in my body. And with a straight face, my response to them often is, well, bones are not prejudice. And so no one has a prejudiced bone in their body, which I just think it's kind of funny, because that whole idea of trying to prove that you don't have prejudices just shows whoever you're talking to that you're not very self-aware. Our job is to recognize our prejudices and not allow them to run our lives. Our job is to be aware of prejudices that don't serve us and to educate ourselves so that we can have more effective relationships with others. Our job is to recognize that many of our prejudices or prejudgments are not intended to offend or hurt anyone, but because we don't know every other culture, things we do and things we say might create some discomfort or some miscommunication. And when that happens, our job is to learn from that so we can apply it in the future. So I want to encourage you to stop saying these 5 things. Let me remind you of what they are. We'll go backwards. Number 1, I'm not prejudiced, or I don't have a prejudice bone in my body. It's not true. Just go ahead and say that I don't intend to offend people. And I'd love it if I ever do say or do something that you would let me know. Number 4 was never ever use transgendered. It is not only grammatically incorrect, it's quite offensive. And so please just stop using it. Lots of information on the internet about this one if you want more detail. Be careful how you use the concept of belonging. It's not that you cannot use belonging, but you really should not be using belong to. No one belongs to another person, but you can use the value of belonging, but just make sure you use it in context. Stop describing your church or an event that your ministry is hosting as a safe space, because you can't guarantee it. And what you really are going for is respect, not safety or comfort. And then please stop using diverse as an adjective when you are really talking about a small group or part of your ministry or a few people. You can use it if you truly are talking about everyone, but it would be better to say we are inclusive or we strive to be inclusive rather than we are diverse. So those are Tracy's top 5 things that I encourage you not to take with you into 2025 here on the Inclusive Church every Tuesday at noon Mountain Time. I'll be here. And if you have specific topics that you would like to focus on, or you'd like me to give some information about that's related to being inclusive, then please just let me know. We're scheduling the programs for the first quarter of 2025, and I would love to bring forward topics that are of interest to you. My name is Tracy Brown. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching The Inclusive Church with Tracy Brown. Join us again next week at 12 noon Mountain Time.